All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, the sports world is one of the few environments where ageism is considered acceptable. You know, like in the corporate world, maybe at your job or what have you, if you start pushing 55, 60 years old and you're still doing the same thing, your boss, your manager, one of the VPs, they might try to send you a message in a roundabout way. Hey, so when you plan on retiring? LeBron James is starting to receive many of those overtures. Jeff Van Gundy, the former head coach of the New York Knicks in the 90s and the Houston Rockets in the 2000s, recently had the boldness, the audacity to say on national television that the Lakers may want to consider trading LeBron James in the offseason. Now, when I first heard it, I thought that it may be a bit ridiculous because I assumed that LeBron James had a no-trade clause in his Laker contract. But it appears as if he does not. If I'm incorrect about that, one of you brothers, please correct me. But from what I understand, LeBron James does not have a no-trade clause in his contract. And if that is the case, the Lakers may indeed want to consider trading LeBron, but I doubt that they will because they're in too deep. Right now, Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka, they've invested their entire Laker front office future in the potential success of this LeBron James experiment. This has to work. Because at the very least, if LeBron is unable to win a championship, they're hoping that he can lead the team to some deep playoff runs. In order to do that, they have to win big in this offseason's free agency. They have to win big. Because I don't believe that the Anthony Davis trade is going to happen unless a mandate comes down from on high from Adam Silver. And these are not the days of David Stern anymore. I don't think that that mandate is going to occur because things are just too visible now. They're just way too transparent. The average quote-unquote fan or NBA viewer has such a loud voice. It's not as easy to do the things now that you could do 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago to make sure that a certain franchise could rebound. So anyway, they're going to talk about it and I'm going to chime in.
Now, it goes without saying that L.A. Bron is a phenomenon, for better or for worse. But a lot...
Yes, he's a phenomenon, like a car crash, like an 8-car pileup. Everybody wants to watch. It does not mean that it's a good thing.
A lot hinged on the Lake Show getting a second superstar. Turns out they've missed on another one. On the Brian Windhorst and the Hoop Collective podcast, ESPN's Michael Wright said in so many words that Kawhi Leonard isn't looking to join the Lakers.
Of course, Kawhi's not looking to join the Lakers. Kawhi Leonard has a throwback offensive game. He models his offensive attack, his mindset, off of what he sees from Kobe Bryant or what he saw in the film of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. So why would he want to team with LeBron James? Their offensive skill sets don't mesh very well. Once again, LeBron James is the modern-day Wilt Chamberlain. Kawhi models his offensive approach based on film footage that he studies of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. So why would he think that his offensive style or his outlook on the offensive part of the basketball floor would mesh well with LeBron James? It simply wouldn't. Once again, LeBron James is the modern-day Wilt Chamberlain. He's always going to underwhelm you in the big spot, but he is going to be physically dominant over 99% of the competition in the regular season. In the playoffs, he's going to have a tremendous run because the modern day NBA game and how the game is officiated lends itself to making sure that he can optimize his offensive output and his stats are going to blow you out the water. I mean, he's going to go through the roof when it comes to points per game, assists per game, rebounds per game. But you're not going to win championships with LeBron in this modern day NBA.
Our Jeff Van Gundy had an interesting solution to the Lakers' free agent acquisition issues.
They have to rebuild this roster, right? And to me, it could be a trade with, for an Anthony Davis, or I think they need to explore trading LeBron for getting as much as they can.
What are you doing? Seriously. No, seriously.
What Jeff is really saying is that he does not believe that LeBron James is the best player in the NBA anymore. That's really what he's saying when he says that. When Jeff Van Gundy comes on national TV and says, you should consider trading LeBron James, that's his way of making something public that people have been murmuring about on the internet and in private for probably the last year and a half or so. The notion that LeBron James is no longer or should no longer be considered the best player in the NBA.
No, seriously, what are you doing?
No, you got to get on the right timeline. If I could trade it for the Clippers into cap space, which would give me a better chance to get Durant or Kawhi Leonard, would I not do that?
Now listen to what Van Gundy just stated. He said, if I could trade LeBron James and sign KD or Kawhi, would I not do that? What is he really saying? He's saying that he believes that Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard are both better players than LeBron James.
Well, for perspective, the Lakers are 30-36 through.
Wow, look at this. Same record, worse three-point shooting percentage, and giving up more points per game. Ain't that a bitch?
Through 66 games this season, which is.
This dude says he's more than an athlete. Well, you might not even be much of an athlete anymore because you're not making your team better. At least at one time you could bring a LeBron and you could put 4 bums around him and he could turn your team into a 50-win squad. He can't even do that anymore, especially when you add on to the fact that he's in the Western Conference, a far stronger conference. Unless LeBron James is able to get an Anthony Davis, they may find themselves in the same pickle next season.
Which is the same record the team had through the first 66 games of last year. Similar to last season as well, LA is struggling from beyond the arc. After finishing last season 29th in three-point percentage, Lakers find themselves in the exact same spot this season. So, not a whole lot has changed. Let's see what First Take has to say about it.
All of this is a major ding on the already very flimsy argument that LeBron James is as good as or better than Michael Jordan.
Thank you, Trevor. So Jeff Van Gundy apparently ready to cut bait on the LeBron James experiment already. I was not expecting this suggestion, Stephen A.
Well, Jeff is known for giving hot takes on many of their telecasts. And most of his hot takes are very substantive.
What do you think about him saying that they should explore trading LeBron?
I think it's utterly ridiculous.
No, it's not. Why would it be ridiculous that they should trade LeBron? I mean, assuming that your goal is to win. Now, if your goal is to have the most popular show, the most polarizing show in the NBA, then yes, it's ridiculous to consider trading LeBron. But if you're trying to win in today's NBA, of course you should consider trading him. The real question is, what are you going to get back for him at this point in his career? He's 34 going on 35 years old. Any team that he goes to, he's going to have to find a way to amalgamate himself into the overall team framework, assuming that he gets traded to a team that has championship aspirations. And he's already shown that he has a hard time playing with superstars that are not his best friend.
And this, for me, listen, Jeff Van Gundy does a great job, and he knows more basketball than me. I love the guy. But we respectfully disagree. And I would remind everybody that even though Patrick Ewing was somebody that was traded by the New York Knicks in 2000 on Jeff Van Gundy's watch, obviously that was Scott Layden, the non-GM that was a GM that ultimately never became a GM again, at least really significantly in terms of calling the shots. And James Dolan was there. The reality is that for years and years and years, as Ewing was fading, Max, you'll remember this, one of his staunch supporters was Jeff Van Gundy.
And maybe that's his way of saying he was wrong. Back in the 1980s, the common sentiment or the most believed notion pertaining to the Boston Celtics of Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, Dennis Johnson, Robert Parrish is that they kept that team together too long. Now, whether or not that notion is true is up for debate. But maybe Jeff Van Gundy is saying that we held on to that team in the mid to late 90s for too long when we should have broke them up. A lot of people forget that in the 1996 offseason, the Knicks were trying to sign big names, and they ended up with Larry Johnson and I believe Allen Houston and Chris Childs. And that set them on a path that they really have never been able to recover from, because that team was only a championship contending team for one season, which is that first season in 96-97. And they would have gave the Bulls a hell of a run had they got to them in the Eastern Conference Finals. The issue is that they blew the series against the Miami Heat when they were up 3-1, when they bum rushed the basketball court off the bench, when P.J. Brown flipped Charlie Ward over, when they were battling on the free throw line.
You see what I'm saying? And the reason why I bring that up is because when you think about Patrick Ewing and how he was dissipating to some degree because of those knees and what have you.
Not to some degree. The dude was falling off. He was falling off. He wasn't just dissipating.
What have you. That's not what we're witnessing with LeBron James, who's averaging 27 a night. That when healthy, this dude is still, considered the best in the game overall.
Not quite sure about that anymore, Stephen A. Smith. Right now, I would say that if we were to take a poll of who's the best player in the NBA right now, meaning who brings the most on offense, defense, leadership, I would have to go with Antetokounmpo right now. If we're just going on what we're seeing this season and what we project onward, I would have to go with Antetokounmpo. I can't go with LeBron because, yes, LeBron brings stat stuff for numbers, but he plays no defense whatsoever, and his leadership is atrocious.
And so when you look at that, plus his box office appeal, plus the business perspective that the Lakers have to entertain and what he generates for that franchise, I don't think it makes any sense to do that. Now, having said all of that, I'll give Jeff Van Gundy credit because he did bring up the point. If you have an opportunity to get a Kawhi Leonard, a Kevin Durant, etc., why wouldn't you do that? Because the belief is if LeBron were to go elsewhere, other people will be willing to come to the Lakers. My problem is if I'm the Lakers, in the years of Dr. Buss, I'm good with that. If Dr. Buss was the owner for the Los Angeles Lakers,
which he's not, so why are you bringing that up? Dr. Buss is no longer the owner of the LA Lakers. His daughter is. Supposedly, you guys love Jeannie Buss so much and she's this great owner, so why would you be making that distinction unless you're really saying that Jeannie Buss don't know what the fuck she's doing?
And Jeff Van Gundy made such a claim, I have no problem with it because I believe in Dr. Buss. God rest his soul. We know what he brought to the table. We know what him, in concert with Jerry West, brought to the table.
Totally different NBA, totally different league, totally different time period.
Magic Johnson, this is his first time doing this. Rob Pelinka, as I've stated on several occasions. Listen, I have no problem against Rob Pelinka, Max Kellerman. He's never done anything to me. I'm just telling you as a guy that calls around the league. Agents, GMs, they do not like this man. They don't take his calls a lot of time. They don't want to talk to him, etc., etc.
That's interesting. I wonder why that is. I wonder how many people he's pissed off in his past. Now, I know that he was an agent in his near past. So maybe he's burned quite a few bridges and he's having an issue trying to rebuild the bridges that he burned. That's why you have to be extremely aware and cognizant of how you treat people because it may come back to bite you.
So I'm looking at it from that perspective. And what I am saying to you is, what reason do I have to believe that I'm going to be able to attract another free agent? Again, Jeff Van Gundy's words, as ridiculous as I think they are, it's primarily because he's making the assumption that if I lose LeBron and have this cap space, I can easily go and get somebody to come to the Los Angeles Lakers. But
well, right now, Van Gundy's looking at the Lakers situation and he's saying to himself, how much better are they going to be next year? Especially if they can't trade for Anthony Davis. Right now, and Stephen A. Smith has to understand this, Jeff Van Gundy is fully embedded in the NBA just like him. So I'm pretty sure that he's hearing around the league that other players do not want to play with LeBron. Because if he were not hearing that, why would he make the statement that he made on national television that the Lakers should consider trading LeBron James so that they can potentially attract other free agents like Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard? What he's really saying is that those two players do not want to play with LeBron, and he's the reason why they will not come to LA. And beyond that, they're better than him. And they're also more modernized players in that they can play without the basketball. LeBron has a major issue playing without the basketball. And in this current incarnation of the NBA, all your players have to be able to move without the ball, and they have to be able to catch and shoot, which is not something that LeBron is great at.
We're living in a day and age where, dare I say, the Lakers are not as attractive as they used to be. It's not quite Jim Buss, but it's not as attractive as it used to be. If Dr. Buss and Jerry West were still running the Lakers, I have no problem with what Jeff Van Gundy said. But because they're not, oh, hell no, I got to hold on to LeBron for dear life.
For what? You got to hold on to him for what? If you say I have to hold on to him for entertainment purposes or to keep people sidetracked, then that might be a modicum of a point. But we also have to factor into the equation that LeBron is a member of the LA Lakers. He's not a member of the Portland Trail Blazers or the Utah Jazz or some other fan base that might be in awe of him. He's a member of the LA Lakers, and I stated this in the preseason when he went there, that he was in for a very rude awakening. This dude's ego is so out of control. He actually thought that he was going to go to the Lakers and they were going to be blowing trumpets and rolling out a red carpet and things of that nature for him. They've had 5 or 6 players in their franchise history that many Laker fans consider to be better than him. So I don't think that he quite understood that before he went there. But, we already know, or at least I know, and I've made it very plain, that his reasons for going to the Lakers have nothing to do with basketball. Certain people might acknowledge that and say, well, it's not all basketball. It's partly entertainment, but it's some basketball. No, it has nothing to do with basketball why LeBron James went to L.A. He went to L.A. because his proverbial sun is setting. He considers himself a modern-day Heru, a master magician. He has to go out west for his sun to set in L.A. And after that, he's going to fully immerse himself into the witchcraft world of Hollywood.
Because I can't trust that the Lakers going to be able to go out there, Max, and get somebody else.
First thing with Patrick Ewing, the issue was not trading Patrick Ewing, and I grew up an insane Patrick Ewing fan. The issue was waiting too long to trade him, and all they got back for him was the remains of Glenn Rice and salary cap problems.
That's why
You know what's so funny? Back in the 90s, I remember watching the Knicks, and Knicks fans would get so upset with Patrick Ewing. They'd be like, why does this guy keep taking 18-foot jump shots? He got to get down low. Patrick Ewing will fit in so well in the NBA today. There are so many players from the late 80s into the 90s that would dominate today because of how they played back in their era. And they got heavily criticized for their style of play back in their era. Of course, when people retire, when very good to great players retire, they get lionized, they get mythologized, and people forget their warts. But for anyone who watched Patrick play in the mid-90s, one of the main criticisms of his style of play was that he took too many long jump shots. In today's NBA, they would love Patrick Ewing. They would tell him, as a matter of fact, Patrick, take a couple more steps back and take a three.
I brought up Jeff Van Gundy because Jeff Van Gundy is one of those people that helped
Yes, well, I mean, but Van Gundy maybe learned that lesson is like, look, while you can still get something for him, get something for him. Here's the problem. I don't believe it's LeBron keeping guys away. I don't think you need another...
Of course you don't believe that because it doesn't fit into your narrative. And your narrative, LeBron James is the greatest thing other than Michael Jordan ever. He's this great guy, and you don't understand why other players would not want to play with him because supposedly he's so unselfish. Let me tell you, brother, something, man. There's such a thing as a selfish passer. There are certain players in the NBA who are selfish passers. I've seen players who were unselfish passers, players like John Stockton or Isaiah Thomas, Mark Jackson, etc. Then you have selfish passers, who are guys who just pass the ball to pile up assist numbers. That's Westbrook, that's LeBron, that's James Hardenhead. They pass the ball just to get assists.
Superstar to play with LeBron. You just need another all-star or two. And those guys are out there. Klay Thompson's going to be a free agent this offseason.
Klay Thompson ain't coming to LA unless Golden State fucks up major. And his Hollywood girlfriend starts to put out overtures to him to let him understand that she wants him to be closer. That's it. Other than that, Klay Thompson, he's happy in Golden State.
Mike Conley obviously is on the trading blocks. He was before the deadline even passed.
He would have been a great pickup for Toronto because Toronto was trying to get him and Gasol. If Toronto would have gotten Mike Conley, they may have become, I won't say my favorite to win a championship, but they would have become definitely my favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference.
There are other free agent veterans who aren't all-stars, but are nice fits in case you get a superstar like AD later. I mentioned Danny Green or Mirotic or guys like that.
This dude is in love with Danny Green. This dude really thinks if Danny Green teams up with LeBron James, they're going to win a championship.
That, right? To varying degrees, like where you have to pay them half the cap or half a max slot, whatever that is. Look, LeBron James is not the problem on the Lakers.
He's one of them.
The problem on the Lakers is roster construction.
Well, the roster was constructed in a way so that this season would be a buffer for LeBron James. In other words, if they didn't play well, he would have an excuse, which is what he's utilizing right now. And if they did play well, he could look like the hero. That's how the roster was constructed. The roster was never built in a way for Rajon Rondo and Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee to be with the team long term. It was built so that LeBron would have what he always needs, which is an excuse, an out, in case he falls short.
The question to start the season was, is this going to work? But are you just supposed to surround LeBron James with shooters, 3-and-D guys, preferably, and at least...
Well, that's part and parcel of the understanding of what the LeBron James system is. Max Kellerman, you're explaining why other superstars do not want to play with LeBron. If you need 3-and-D guys to surround LeBron James, why would superstar players who are not 3-and-D guys want to play with him? Hello?
One other guy who could take teams off the dribble, right? Take his man off the dribble and create. Because that seems to be the formula with LeBron. But Magic...
Not just the formula, the system. That's the only system that he can play in.
We're like, no, wait a minute. it. That's the way they've been doing it. LeBron's getting older. He needs less responsibility. We need to surround him with playmakers. That's
what LeBron James himself has always said. Coming into the season, he was so happy to have another brainiac, another quote-unquote NBA brainiac on the team in Rajon Rondo. That's what he himself stated. Because LeBron James, he's like a desperate housewife. He's always going to find something to complain about. If he has a bunch of shooters on the team, he's going to say we don't have enough playmakers. If they have 2 or 3 other playmakers on the squad, he's going to say we don't have enough shooters. There's always going to be something with LeBron to complain about.
That's interesting. Everyone threw those guys under the bus right away, all the smart people. And maybe I'm not one of them. But I thought, wait a minute. Let's see how this plays out. This is how it played out. Didn't play out. They got a 5 who obviously they can't play 5 out with JaVale McGee or someone like that, right? They did not surround it.
Right, but they couldn't play 5 out with Tristan Thompson. And he won a championship with him. Look, either LeBron James is the second greatest player ever or he's not. In the early portion of the season, LeBron James was touting JaVale McGee as a potential defensive player of the year. Now, all of a sudden, it's JaVale McGee's fault that the Lakers are not playing well.
Surrounded with shooters. He's the best shooter on the team, and it's a disaster. Now, LeBron is so great that they were 4th in the West at the point he got hurt. Let's not forget that. But he did get hurt. He got hurt. Everything unraveled. Lonzo Ball is gone, and they're like 5-14 or something like that.
Look, what really happened is that LeBron James got full of himself. His team was full of themselves. The Lakers were 28-24. LeBron gets hurt, and all of a sudden the AD talk ratchets up, and LeBron does nothing to quell many of the rumors. And I've never seen ever in history where a superstar player in the middle of a season was trying to campaign to have a certain player from another team get traded to his team and have many of his teammates get pushed out. Now, we've seen Kobe Bryant get very upset before the 2007 season at the notion of keeping Andrew Bynum because he wanted Jason Kidd. But during the season, Kobe normally kept his mouth shut. And he wasn't trying to place himself at the epicenter of the intrigue aspect of the NBA, or to be the one to pull the trigger on trades and things of that nature. LeBron James wants to control every aspect of the league. And then he and his fans wonder why so many other great players or very good players do not want to play with him, because they know that their neck could be next. It could be them having their head put into the guillotine, because we all know that LeBron and his fans and the media are going to blame someone else other than LeBron when the team that he's on is not playing up to par or up to snuff.
Since Lonzo's been gone, and I don't think they would have stayed at 4, Stephen A., but I think they would have made the playoffs even with this roster because of LeBron James.
Yeah, they would have made the playoffs had LeBron not went out for those 18 games. Instead of going 6-12, they may have went, who knows, 12-6, 11-7, something like that. But they would probably still be in the playoff hunt right now. They would be probably just on the outside looking in, trying to make a final playoff push.
LeBron is not the problem. LeBron's not the guy you got to get rid of. You brought it up. When Jim Buss was there, the rest of the league was like, nope, we're not going there. They couldn't get players to take their money. Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov got 4-year deals out of the team because the Lakers could not even spend their money. No one would take it. Then Magic comes in. Now you know who took the money? LeBron. LeBron felt comfortable enough. But what Magic and Pelinka...
LeBron was going to the Lakers either way. His move out to LA was in the cards 3 years ago. Believe me. All the stuff that they put out on television about LeBron having to figure out where he was going to go last season, all that's bullshit. That's media narrative, and that's just fluff for the masses to ingest. Behind the scenes, LeBron and his handlers knew where he was going. They knew where he was going to end his career.
Pelinka have shown so far since LeBron is making the rest of the league say, I don't know if we're in good hands. I don't know if I want to go there. These guys don't look like they know what they're doing.
Magic Johnson has never, ever shown that he looks like he knows what he's doing other than being an NBA point guard. Show me one thing in which Magic Johnson has shown that he knows what he's doing other than being the all-time greatest NBA point guard. I mean, if you want to talk about Starbucks and Magic Johnson theaters, all that stuff is nonsense. Magic Johnson, all he is a mascot. There's no disrespect to the brother, but that's what he is. He's a mascot. There are real decision makers who preside over a lot of those business aspects, and his job is just to get on TV and smile. and he might give them some recommendations on where he wants those businesses to appear and pop up to hopefully give job opportunities to so-called black people. But other than that, come on. Magic ain't in the boardroom saying, it's what we gonna do next. Like, come on, stop.
They have to correct that, like, yesterday.
Let me put on my reporter's hat. Number one, the Lakers play New Orleans Pelicans. I believe it was Friday, December 21st. LeBron James and them, at the time, they like, was it 19 and 13, something around there. And LeBron is heard speaking about how he'd like to play with Anthony Davis. They won that game, but anybody that covers the league, because I was in LA talking to a couple of cats and, about this, the team never appeared to be the same. They ultimately...
Nor should they have. I mean, if you're married to somebody and you're doing your job as a husband, everything is 10 out of 10. And the woman is still talking about, well, I really wish that I could be with so-and-so. You're going to be like, okay, bitch, then go be with him.
Beat the Golden State Warriors on Christmas Day, but their whole temperament changed because they knew that in order to get Anthony Davis, there would be guys that would have to go, and suddenly that changed things. Last week, we're in LA. You're hearing this. Again, it may be totally unfair to LeBron James, but this is what the scuttlebutt is. You got a lot of cats in that locker room. Can't wait till the season's over.
Of course. That's why I laughed at this nonsense from Damon Jones. Oh, the media is talking about how LeBron's teammates don't like him, but we went out to dinner and LeBron brought 6 of his teammates with him. Of course they went with him. A free meal. You'll go with his ass because they know that LeBron James is faker than a $3 bill. But if he wants to pay for dinner to try to make you think that he's all in on this current incarnation of the Lakers, of course you accept a free meal. But this nonsense, everybody likes LeBron. Come on, stop. A lot of those young boys, once they get out of the Lakers or once they get out of that, that chaotic atmosphere, they're going to spill the beans big time.
Some of them don't want to play with him. The fact of the matter is they may be the problem because if he's one of the best, if not the best, he ain't the problem. They're the problem.
Allegedly. Remember, you couch your statements based on the supposition that if LeBron is one of the best or still the best, then he's not the problem. Well, is that something that we can truly qualify right now? We can quantify it because of the numbers that he puts up. But what about the impact that he's having on his team? And for all the good that he brings, this sentiment that he likes to put out there that he loves being in a chaotic environment, a frenzied environment, that it's a great thing to be uncomfortable. That's his way of saying that he does not know how to exist in a positive atmosphere. If there's anything negative that he can grab a hold on to try to destabilize his team and his teammates, he's going to do so even when things are going well. That's not good leadership.
But the reality is that you can't escape the fact that people aren't as anxious to play with him as they once were, which is why I think it's interesting that with...
Right, but were they ever? That's why I've always stated this stuff about great players have always wanted to play with LeBron. How you figure that? Dwayne Wade is one of his best friends going back 15, 16 years. So, of course, they wanted to team up together. And that even took a moment. Chris Bosh was desperate. He was desperate to get out of Toronto, and he was just excited that players on the level of a LeBron and a D Wade would actually want to consider him to be a part of that whole process. Other than that, what great players ever wanted to play with LeBron? Don't say Ray Allen, because Ray Allen was done pretty much by the time he came to Miami. He was a specialist.
With the minute restriction stuff, he was still on the bench cheering him. He still went out there and balled. And when he wasn't balling and he was on the bench, he was cheering him on, talking to cats.
I mean, damn, Ray was in his 17th season when he came to Miami.
Cats and what have you, because I think he recognizes the fact that there are people out there saying this stuff about him and his relationship with those players. Brandon Ingram, supposedly his father's behind the scenes, complaining a lot about the Lakers front office.
That means what? That means that Brandon Ingram does not want to be on the Lakers anymore, and he does not want to play with LeBron anymore, and he'll use his father to get the message out, very similar to Lonzo Ball.
And stuff like that. We haven't heard from LeVar Ball. I'm hearing we will hear from LeVar.
Oh, we definitely gonna hear from his yellow tooth ass, but not until the end of the season. He gonna wait. He gonna wait till everything lines up. Then LeVar's gonna explode.
Ball soon enough. You just don't know what the hell is going on right now. It doesn't appear to be a good situation, which is what I think, because Jeff Van Gundy was in L.A. calling this game, and he had to be hearing some of those
No doubt. When Jeff Van Gundy said something like...
Thank you, sir. What Jeff said did not just come from nowhere. He's been hearing things around the NBA, and he knows for a fact that those other superstar players, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, they do not want to play with LeBron James.
Something like that.
There's got to be a reason behind it. There's got to be a reason.
Look, you look at the roster construction on the Lakers. You bring up LeVar Ball. I think Lonzo's going to be all right. I think that you have to start looking at who can actually play and who can't play. And LeBron is like Phil Jackson or Kobe Bryant later in his career. It's a generational thing at this point.
I agree with that.
He doesn't have time to like bring along young players who he thinks ultimately aren't the answer, right?
That's very true. But once again, the question begs to be asked, if you understand that and I understand that, we have to assume that LeBron James understood that even before he signed there. So if his priority or his prerogative was to win championships and he's 34 years old, why would he go to LA in the first place, Max Kellerman? Why? Unless he's not there for basketball reasons.
If he sees Kuzma or Ingram or whoever else making mistakes where he feels like, I don't have time to wait on this dude, he doesn't have patience for it. LeBron's been in the league 16, 17 years. He doesn't have patience for it. He doesn't want to play with young guys. He wants to play with guys who know what they're doing.
Well, the question is, does he know what he's doing? Does LeBron James know enough of what he's doing to win a championship in this era of the NBA without help from the commissioner or the league or what have you? Can LeBron do it? I don't think so.
Lonzo, I think, is going to be okay. Because Lonzo, whatever you have problems with his level of aggression, and he can't shoot, Lonzo thinks the game like a veteran in certain respects, plays defense, does a lot of things that are okay. I think it's the other guys who are going to have a problem with LeBron.
And I think the reason why you're in a position to say that Lonzo Ball can play is because there's so many people around him who really can't. There's a difference.
Josh Hart being one of them. Josh Hart can't play for shit. I mean, I really can't say that there are that many players around Lonzo who can't play, because Brandon Ingram can play, Kyle Kuzma can play. Everyone's trying to jump on a lot of these young guys, 21, 20, 22 years old. We have to put the spotlight back on LeBron James.
You measure it according to your contemporaries or the competition. When you look at Lonzo Ball, if I'm measuring him based on what I see him playing with, then of course I'm saying, damn, he's a extreme
Lonzo going to make an all-star team in his career?
I don't know.
D'Angelo Russell did, and Lonzo's more talented.
Well, you could say
that's speculative, that Lonzo is more talented than D'Angelo Russell. We don't know how good Lonzo's going to be. I know this: when I watch D'Angelo Russell, he understands what he can do and what he can't do. And once you get to that level, that's when you start to manifest the best version of yourself. Lonzo, I see still a lot of uncertainty when it comes to him. He still does not quite understand what he can do and what he can't do. And he damn sure does not know what he should be doing as opposed to what he shouldn't be doing. And that's because he's playing alongside a player who's like a black hole. Not so much a Carmelo Anthony black hole where you give him the ball and you don't get it back, but just a black hole where LeBron's playing his own system. You're just a satellite orbiting around him. And it's very difficult for young players to develop with that dynamic.
to say he's more talented, but you got to be able to make shots, and he hasn't proven that to me yet, so I got to wait to see that. All I'm saying to you is that I'm looking at Lonzo, and I'm going to forever, and hold me accountable for this, I will forever measure Lonzo Ball against the guys that were drafted after him.
That's cool, but that evaluation has to take place 15 years down the line.
I don't care about, you sure? Do you realize they had it as back page news one time this year when Lonzo Ball had 15 points? Actually had it as back page news.
Right, but Lonzo's not a scorer, so that's not something that you concern yourself with.
You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. That's how much of a big deal it is.
Remember Bobby Mercer? More. Remember the late great Bobby Mercer, Yankees outfielder and broadcaster?
Yes.
Made 5 All-Star teams in his career. Considered a disappointment because he wasn't the next Mickey Mantle he was touted to be. Lonzo Ball makes some All-Star teams. Darren Fox can have a better career than him. That's okay. Lonzo can still be an excellent player. He's very, very young, and look what happened to the team since he's been out.
I'm not saying he can't end up being an excellent player, but I'm going to measure him against those guys.
I'm not quite sure if he's ever going to be excellent per se. I think that the ceiling for Lonzo is that he could be very good. Now, who knows? Maybe he could manifest himself into a Jason Kidd, but I don't see the mentality that Jason Kidd had. Like, Jason Kidd was a pit bull out there on the floor. He couldn't shoot for shit, but he was a pit bull. I don't see that pit bull aspect with Lonzo.
And oh, by the way, show some respect to Bobby Mercer. Like you said, a 5-time All-Star.
Yeah.
All right? Well, excuse me, Lonzo make one. Okay?
He's 20.
I understand that.
He's
Make one.
20
Talk to
years
me about
old.
it. Don't assume.
Go look at Steve Nash when he was 20.
I'm saying don't assume.
Good point. Matter of fact, I think that Steve Nash was still in college at 20 years old. But Steve Nash didn't do shit in the NBA until like his 3rd or 4th season.
Assume, because again, listen, for years we've been underestimating Damian Lillard, right?
Yeah, we know what
Because of
assuming
the
does.
guards he's going against. We know
All
he
right.
can ball.
All
but
I
the guards
know
going
is
against.
the Lakers cannot strike out in free agency. When we come back,
Well, I have a feeling that they will. So we'll see what happens. Once again, I think that what Jeff Van Gundy stated about looking into trading LeBron James is very valid. And I do believe that Jeannie Buss may touch on that sentiment in the offseason. The potentiality for that is there. So don't be shocked if that happens, especially if he does not have a no-trade clause. So peace.